Okay, guys. Well, I guess we have breaking news today. The Seattle Seahawks have finally made some offseason moves, and they have released safeties Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams, which is, let's face it, that is something we've all been waiting for quite some time, according to Tom Pelissero and not Tom Pelissero, Seahawks retard Nelson. Seattle Seahawks are releasing three-time Pro Bowl safeties Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs per sources. The move saves $27.5 million in cash and significant cap space for Seattle, which will look a lot different in the Mike McDonald era. This is a great move. It's way past time it happened, and it is an indication that we are moving into, like they say, not only a new era, but the house cleaning has begun in Seattle. And that's not the only move they made. Apparently, they made a another move by actually cutting over where is it? Will Disley. Here's more on the Seahawks releasing Jamal Adams along with Quandre Diggs and Will Disley, according to Brady Henderson. That site can't be reached. That's great. Okay, well, so much for that. Apparently, it's ESPN, but they've also released tight end Will Disley. Now, this is really, really good news for the Seahawks because it's it's very straightforward stuff. Um, Adams and Diggs were making ridiculous money. That was part of the Pete Carroll plan to have people have money focused on the defensive backfield. It didn't work out. Neither one of them were particularly good players. Diggs acted like he was afraid to tackle, and Adams was willing to throw his body at everything and ended up a broken down player because of it. So it's a sad ending for Jamal Adams. I was in favor of the trade at the time. It was a couple of first round picks and a third. I didn't think it was all that much to pay for an elite defensive player who played like an elite player his first year. He attacked the quarterback. He got 9.5 sacks. He set an NFL record in a league that's 105 years old. He set the record for number of sacks from a defensive back. He was every measure of Troy Polamalu back there in the defensive backfield. But then things started happening. He didn't have a sack the last 3 years. And part of the reason for that was that the Seahawks stopped using him as an attacker. They stopped using him that way. And then the injuries started, and he missed game after game after game. And they never got back to using him to attack the quarterback, which was really all he was good at. He wasn't a great defender. He wasn't great in coverage, which is putting it mildly. And I know a lot of people like Rob Staten hated him, hated Jamal Adams. I never did. I thought he was a pretty good player that was being misused by Pete Carroll, who managed to misuse a whole bunch of Seahawks players over the years. But now he's gone, and so is Will Disley, and that really is the good news. It's a step in the right direction. Let's take a look and see what it means to the Seahawks salary cap situation, which is really interesting. Now, the reports are that in actuality, they did not do a post June 1st cut. They had done a post June 1st cut, they would have saved $17.1 million under the cap, but they apparently designated it a pre 6-1 cut, and they only saved $7,327,000 doing that. Now, that's an interesting decision. It means they want to pay it all now. I think that's an owner's decision. Um, and I would have spread it out over 2 years and gained more cap space. However, the reality is that cutting Jamal Adams pre 6-1 or post 6-1, it the difference really doesn't matter to him in terms of what he gets paid, because he gets paid to go out the door. But it could have spread the cap hit out over a couple of years and created more space, but that space can only be used after June the 1st. So maybe they figured, well, okay, yeah, it would be great to have $17 million to spend after June 1st, but we're not going to have anything to spend it on. So we're not going to bother. We're just going to suck it up now because we have the richest owner in football and Jody Allen, and take care of it. So they did that cut, and that brings them up to $19,896,000 $100,000 in cap space, according to Over the Cap, by saving 7.327 million. Now, every year the Seahawks whine and bitch, and they would talk in the Pete Carroll era. They would feed this to their sycophants in the media about how, oh, we don't have any free agency money to spend because we have to account for our rookie cap, our rookie salary cap, and injured reserve. No team in the NFL gives a shit about their rookie cap and their injured reserve. That's just factored in and ignored. But the Seahawks would use it as an excuse for why they're not paying anybody. They only need about 8 or 10 million to cover all that stuff, to sign players for injured reserve later in the year. And you can always make cap space to do that. Now, when we get down to Quandre Diggs, it was always a pre 6-1 cut with him because he doesn't have another year on his deal. So we'll just submit that right in there. And now we're up to 31 million in cap space, at least 20 million of which can be spent with those two cuts. And then the best cut, the joyous cut. 2 years ago, Will Dissly was given a ridiculous $24 million contract for a journeyman tight end who catches about 8 balls a year, doesn't do jack shit out there. He's a terrible player, but he's somebody that he's one of Pete Carroll's teacher's pets. And for some reason, they signed him to an absolutely ridiculous contract that nobody else would have given him. And now, apparently, he's gone too. That saves $7 million under the cap. So now we're at 37 million. Again, about 27 million of which is spendable on new players. It's also important to keep in mind here that when we say $27 million, you could sign a guy to a gigantic contract, and his first year cap hit might only be $7 or $8 million. So there's a lot of space there. There's absolutely an awful lot of space for them to spend money. That's $27 million is for quality starters. And I mean top of the line front end starters. The way you can do contracts with signing bonuses and things like that. That's Patrick Queen. That's Wirfs or whatever. What's the defensive lineman from Miami? Got to look him up. You could sign those guys and bring in a safety or even somebody else like an offensive lineman for 27 million. You could easily sign 3 or 4 top tier free agents just for that $27 million. And that's pretty cool. Now, as we look at what's still the shoes that are left to drop here, there's no reason for Brian Monet to be on the roster anymore. Unless there's some sort of injury situation here. That's a potential savings of 5.3 million. I don't know why it hasn't happened yet, but I think that's a no-brainer if you can do it. Another one is Nick Bellore, an absolute stiff, another one of Pete Carroll's teacher's pets. I say get rid of him, and you save another 2 or 3 million. And then you get into the guys that you really can't cut. I guess you could cut Dwayne Eskridge, save 1.5 million. I would think a bag of balls and a 6-pack of beer would be worth more than Dwayne Eskridge, but maybe you'll just bring him back to camp for one more season. I don't know. It doesn't seem like he can take an NFL hit. So that leaves you with 46 million, about 30 to 36 of it you can spend, but you haven't even started doing some other stuff yet. What about if you traded or cut Geno post June 1? And the reason why I bring this up is because we don't know. We don't know whether or not what they're going to do at quarterback. We have no idea. This is another video that we're going to have to do, but it's going to be very difficult, very, very difficult for the Seahawks to get a quality quarterback out of this draft. There are 6 or 7 of them, and it's starting to look like they're all going to be gone before we pick at 16, and we don't have anything to trade with. Because we traded away our second-round pick this year. We should have traded up and taken C.J. Stroud last year. I've been over that a million times. But what options are left to do? Well, you can do some other things. You can restructure Tyler Lockett. Some people have talked about cutting him. You save $7.1 million. But you can also do a simple restructure on him, give him a minimum base salary, and there you go. You save $7 million right there. And you don't really do too much damage to your cap in 2025 because you can still cut him and save 17 million under the cap next year. So those are things that are possibilities there. The other thing is you can restructure DK Metcalf, do a simple restructure, give him a minimum salary of non-prorated bonus of $4 million. Do the restructure, you save 5.39. Now you're up to 62 million. 40 or 50 million of which is spendable. That's enough to go acquire a veteran quarterback if you want to uh, sign 5, 6, 7, 8 guys, and you are in good shape. Now, another cut that I would do because I think it's just time to cut the cord is Jason Myers. He is ridiculously overpaid. If you would take a cap hit if you cut him prior to 6-1, but if you did a post 6-1 cut and they still have an option left, they save $100,000. I'd get rid of Jason Myers. I'd draft some young kicker, but that's just me. So this brings the Seahawks into a really good situation with their cap and potentially an even better situation with their cap as they do some restructuring. Right now, as it stands, they've only cut a few guys, but there's potential to get rid of some more there. So the way it stands now, it looks like they are at about 37 million, 27 million of which you could probably spend. And that's a pretty good position to be in right now. So we'll wait and see what happens. Anyway, that's the news. The best part about it is now the off season can truly begin. Let's go. Go Hawks. Let's see what happens. Thanks.